Heart First leadership isn't what you say, it's how you show up, how you regulate, how you communicate, and how you execute when it matters most. We are Heidi and Ryan Sawyer, and you are listening to the Heart First Leadership Podcast.
Okay,
here we are. So welcome to the Integrated Mindset Podcast. I am Ryan Sawyer, your co-host, here alongside with my wife.
Heidi Sawyer.
Heidi Sawyer, that's her.
I'm a little distracted because I'm looking to see if it's recording also.
Is it
at the
recording?
Same time,
Well, it says live. We'll see here.
We'll figure it out.
We are trying. We are figuring it out. So if haven't figured it out yet,
refresh the page over there and just see if
we're refreshing pages.
There's some people in our community that were saying they didn't see the live
pop up
last week. So we're just trying to make sure that it comes up for you guys here.
Okay.
All right. Yay. Okay. We are actually.
This is happening. Look at us. We figured out the technology side. We're taking full responsibility. We're taking full responsibility. We're living above the line. We're going to see if this is going to happen through us rather than to us or by me. And oh my goodness, what a book. So we are on our second or third podcast about this.
This is part 3. Yeah,
okay.
We did a couple of
the 15 commitments of conscious leadership. We are doing a bit of a book study. We're going live here on a weekly basis. Today we're doing Tuesday, but normally it will be Wednesday. I'm just out of town tomorrow, so we decided to hit record early. We're going to be doing this weekly as we go through these 15 commitments. Today is the commitment number 1. This idea or concept that we're going to take radical responsibility. So we're going to just kind of go through a couple of points within the book, but really try to see if we can't bring it back to our own experience. If you're watching this live, we are watching the comments over here on our social media. So type something in if you have something you want to share. We are also sharing this into our integrated human performance platform on Mighty Networks as well. We have a community with any conversation that wants to happen in there. So you can plug into that as well to follow along. Yeah. And where else? Oh, let's get it. This is also clearly being launched on our podcast.
This is the podcast. We're just recording the podcast live right here with you.
It's all happening.
Yeah.
It's all happening now.
Thank you for joining us. And if you want to put your name or where you're from, where you're watching from in the comments, we'll engage with you there. But let's dive into this commitment number 1 in the 15 commitments of conscious leadership. This one is called taking radical responsibility. And I'm going to read the commitment statement here. I commit to taking full responsibility for the circumstances of my life and for my physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being. And I commit to supporting others to take full responsibility for their lives. That's a tall order. That's a tall order. It's the first one in the book, and it's necessary because it is the bridge from these different, we talked about last time, the 4 ways of leading in the world. So when we're talking about the to me orientation, life is happening to me, and then wanting to move from to me to by me, it's happening by me. The gateway to move from to me to by me is responsibility first. So that's why they put this one first in the book.
So and we talked a bit last week about how this takes courage. When I first, and this wasn't the first time that I heard this concept that we need to take full responsibility to truly be a creator in our life, to really create the experience of life that we want to have, that we desire, to be really participating fully. Really, this is one of the questions I love. In our journal, we ask the question, to what level are you willing to participate within your life today? And then we put it on a scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah.
And most people, the first time they answer that question, they answer with like a 7 or an 8, but even that is a little bit uncomfortable. When you ask yourself that question, to what level am I willing to participate within my life today? And you draw yourself over to circle a 10, it's uncomfortable. There is a visceral resistance that pops up when you're saying, well, because the next thing that happens when we start to have this conversation about taking full responsibility is, well, but what, and then fill in the blank. This happens to me every single time. I still think about this. And so this courage to look at it in a circumstance, to look at your life in a curious way, to open up to see in what ways can we grow from this? What can we learn from this? And to then explore how we're going to use this to, create the experience of life we do want, right?
Yeah.
And there's also what we'll to uncover here. We'll kind of jump forward just for a moment. Is it doesn't mean that we're taking more than our fair share of responsibility as well, because it's really easy to cross this line and become a rescuer, feeling like now we're responsible for everybody else's happiness as well.
Yeah, being uncomfortable with any kind of conflict. I mean, I know a lot of you watching can relate to that. I can relate to that in my own life. Just wanting to kind of make the conflict stop or go away temporarily. So taking on more responsibility for it than you actually should be. That's actually yours to take. So I want to read the below the line commitment. And when we're talking about below the line, that means we're still in that to me orientation, which is I commit to blaming others and myself for what's wrong in the world. I commit to being a victim, villain, or we're going to, instead of the word hero, we're going to say rescuer here, and taking more or less than 100% responsibility. And one of the things they talk about in the book is blame being a big motivator and it being a close cousin to guilt and shame and being a really common form of motivation used by leaders. Sometimes we use it in parenting. And it can be really toxic. Yeah,
it's a toxic fear to say, if you don't do this, then this is going to happen to you, right? I mean, I think there's some of that is baked into, even some spiritual belief structures. I think that is obviously clearly baked into, if you don't do this, I'm going to take away that type of a thing,
Yeah. So there's consequences.
Challenging our worthiness to a certain degree. Yeah.
Right. So there's the consequences. And when there's a consequence and something's not going the way that we think it should in our life, then fear pops up. And then a mask for that fear is sometimes anger. And then it's also blame and pointing the finger and looking at like who or what outside of us is the matter, and how we can, instead of taking responsibility inside, focus outside on how other people or the system or whatever it is needs to change for us.
Well, and I think it's a natural thing is when we're in this place of fear. So we're coming from a place of being not good enough, or there is not enough, then we work to overcome that. And we sometimes will create an experience where we feel like we have overcome, or now we do have the role, we do now have the title, we do now have the money. And so I took the fear and I took the sense of not enough as my motivation. And it is, when somebody is uncomfortable, when somebody is in a place of suffering, we can use the fear as a motivator, right? Fear can be fuel. It can be, but to recognize that it doesn't last, this orientation to the world where we're trying to overcome and we're blame and we're overcoming fear and it's a bit toxic, it leaves a negative residue. They even talk about this, how they observed leaders using 5 different levels of motivation. Number 1 was toxic fear, blame, shame, and guilt. Number 2 was extrinsic motivation, money, titles, the corner office, other peaks, things like that. And the first 2 that they witnessed leave a negative residue. And I would even go a step further, that those first 2 actually create extra obstacle and struggle in our life because we're working to try to overcome something. Now, the things are there, they're present. There is a way to shift, and maybe we'll get a chance to talk about that. We'll see how much time we're at here because we're trying to keep these shorter and condensed. But the term that I like to use is in our program, we talk about our operating origin. Where are we operating from? Meaning that, am I operating from a place of lack? Again, coming back to those terms, I'm not good enough, or there's not enough in the world. I'm not lovable. I'm not adequate. I'm not, worthy. And if I'm coming from that place of unworthiness, then just knowing that there's going to be a greater ripple effect of extra struggle, obstacle, resistance that's going to pop up either internally or externally in the world. It could be a car accident. It could be whatever things, all kinds of things could happen out there in the world that we could potentially point back to this fact that we're trying to overcome something. So as they observe these leaders going through these different stages of motivation, again, the number 1 was toxic fear, blame, shame, and guilt. The second one was extrinsic motivation, obviously things outside of us, money, titles, cars, corner offices, perks, those type of things. The third one was intrinsic. And this is the component of what we're talking about, I think, to shift from below the line to above the line is to actually orient yourself to the world from an inside out perspective. And this is what we like to teach is rather than the world's out there and I have the thing and now I'm good enough. I've created the role or the money or the identity and now I feel okay, is to come from a place that accept my own worthiness, be good enough, feel good enough, be lovable, and then step out into the world and still then achieve and strive to continue to learn, to continue to grow, to continue to heal, because intrinsic motivation is basically, what are you learning? Fulfilling a purpose or having a sense of choice or autonomy, which is another kind of a basic human need. When I feel like I have choice, control in my life, I feel more psychologically safe. And the more psychologically safe I feel, the more that I'm able to operate from a place of that abundant, right? So my operating origin becomes abundance rather than lack. My cup is full. I'm going to give you one more example, and then I'll let you go.
Okay.
My other example is, and I think this happens quite often, and I see myself doing it all the time. So this is a real life conversation we're having in the moment where we're actually coming into this, hitting record and recognizing that we, a couple hours ago, were operating from beneath the line in our business, right? So I think this happens in service a lot. Somebody is like, oh, I just love to serve, right? I love to go out and help people. Well, or, wanting that your kid's life to be a certain way. This is still coming back to where if I serve, I feel better about myself. So I'm actually serving to feel okay. Or my kids are happy. Now I feel okay. Now my wife is not upset with me. Now I feel okay. From a business perspective, and whether you know this or not, you're watching this, we own a residential painting company. And this time of year, it tends to be a little bit more of a touch and go of how much, work we have, right? We have a lot on the books, but it's not near as much when the phone's just ringing off the hook in April and May and it's exterior season. So we can only paint inside of homes right now. And so we're writing estimates and we're doing that thing. And we can see ourselves kind of being like, oh boy, we better give them a discount here because I don't know if we're going to have enough money, and this is going to have enough work. And then, and then when the narrative comes, well, if we don't get that job, it's because somebody was undercutting us. And
that's the blaming, right?
There was someone to blame, or the economy clearly is not doing as good as it was a year ago. And here we go into this whole story and narrative of how we are operating that company and that business beneath the line. So one of the ways we talked about last week is to take life happening to me, to by me, to through me. And it's saying, like, legitimately, Heidi comes downstairs, she goes, I'm done with this. Like, either I'm not going to worry about it. It's either going to work and be exactly what it's supposed to be, or it's not. And we're going to have to legitimately surrender to that, because there's things that are meant to be expressed through us. And that's the place that we want to live, right? Where we know our innate value, we know our innate worth, we know that we're lovable and good enough. And so then we come out to the world with that being seen and shown to the world in a way that then I believe, and I have found in my own life, that we create less obstacle and struggle and resistance because we're operating from our truth. And that's taking responsibility, right? That's taking responsibility of my own emotional state, of my own internal domain, and then coming out to the world from an inside out approach. Now, the last two layers that the leaders were seeing, levels of motivation were, so again, I'm going to repeat these: toxic fear, like the blame, shame, and guilt; extrinsic motivation. Third one was intrinsic motivation. The fourth one was play, creativity, and expressing our genius to the world. So that to me is somebody asking this question: is how is life being expressed through me? What wants to happen through me? What wants to be expressed through me? And the fifth one is love, right? And so anyway, to recognize where we're operating from the inside out or from the outside in, right? I need the thing outside of me to be a certain way for me to be okay, or I'm going to accept my own sense of being good enough, worthy, and adequate and lovable, and then step out into the world expressing that and authentically sharing that and being creative and playing with the world in that manner, and not feeling the other side of that too, that I want to talk about is not feeling like we have to save somebody else.
Yeah.
We are supporting you. I'm supporting you and taking responsibility for your life as well.
We are all leaders. If you're ready to stop waiting and start impacting your environment in a powerful way, we want to connect with you. Click the Book Now link in the show notes to book a call with a Heart First coach and discover what Heart First leadership can look like in your life and in your environment. Now back to the show.
Yeah. Not rescuing somebody.
So that's all I have. I'm done.
Too much. I'm still trying to process everything you just said, to be honest. Not rescuing somebody else, not trying to take the responsibility for them, but allowing them the opportunity to take that responsibility for themselves, because that's where the growth's at. Being able to take responsibility for your own internal environment and what you're co-creating in the world. And I think one of the things you said, you were talking about relationship and how we can come to a relationship in a couple of different ways, right? We can come to a relationship where we're sort of blaming the other person. I need this person to be this way and do these things and say these things and be just this way for me to be okay. But the other side of that is when I'm taking full responsibility, I come to the party whole. I come to the party meeting my own needs. And then my partner can just be who he is.
Right. And be doing his own work or her own work. Right. So, this is a question, and I think I know what you're going to say is the answer, but I think it's common for us to feel like it's our role or responsibility as the significant other to meet the other person's needs, to like make them happy wife, happy life. Right.
Yeah.
So now it's my job. If I want to have a happy life, I got to make sure I have a happy wife. So now I am taking responsibility to make sure that she is happy.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that?
I think that's more than your responsibility.
You think that's playing the rescuer a little bit?
Yeah,
doesn't mean that I don't still, create a safe environment. I'm still, which is going to happen when I meet my own sense of being okay, worthy, adequate, lovable. When I am operating from above the line, I'm going to create an environment where she feels safe to explore, to grow, to be curious, to receive the gift or the lesson. But it is not my responsibility to make sure that you feel a certain way.
Well, let's take it back to these five levels of motivation. So if you're looking at number one and your motivation in a relationship is from shame and guilt, right? Or fear that you want the other person to be okay, or you feel guilty if the other person isn't quote unquote happy, then you're coming from that below the line approach, where if your motivation is coming from the highest motivation, number 5, love, just love for that person and allowing that person to have their own journey and believing that they have everything that they need to make themselves happy, to change their own internal experience. What a gift to give somebody.
Yeah. Not necessarily have to share any sort of specific example, but in doing this work, this stays very much in the front of mind in our home. We are constantly reminding each other and navigating how it is that we can live above the line, how we can be creators, how we can come from a place of being good enough and worthy and adequate and lovable, how we can be unconditionally loving towards each other, towards our children, towards the world, right? And so when things pop up where one of us is operating from beneath the line, the space that's then created for the other individual to not get involved. It's not my job to bring you back up of being above the line, right? But actually just to create a space of compassion and curiosity and faith that she's going to do her work, that's going to allow for her to recognize, I was operating from my sense of not being good enough, of not being worthy, of not being adequate. Now I can learn to let that go. I can have a moment of compassion and grace for myself. I can ask myself a powerful question like, how can I learn from this? How can I grow from this? What needs to be healed? What is ready to be seen?
Yeah.
Right. And then the environment will be one where I don't feel like I have to do something to fix or anything else by me not resisting the fact. I'm just saying that, let's say I'm above the line and she's below the line. It goes both ways.
It goes both ways. Yeah, of course.
But in that example, I'm above the line, let's say, and she's below the line, that I just give the ability to recognize it, to show compassion for it, to be curious about it, to just observe it without story. Because it's really easy for us to then be like, well, and if she would just get back up here, whatever it is.
As a human being, I think we try to point everything back to ourselves, right? Like, what does this mean about me? This person's having a hard time, or my employee's struggling, or whatever it is. Like, what does it mean about me? It's not about us. It's about their own journey. And when we can take responsibility for ourselves, then we can allow someone else the gift of being able to support them in taking responsibility for their own life. And that's really what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So thank you for doing that for me.
What'd I do?
Supporting me and taking responsibility for my own life.
Yes, of course.
My own emotions, my own well-being.
So we identify, the actual circumstance of what's actually happening, the actual complaint, the undesirable thing that we're experiencing out in the world. And sometimes what I have found in coaching and in my own experience is to allow for that possible outcome to play out. To allow for yourself to recognize. And they even talked about this in the process. Everything always comes back to a practice. Okay, we can learn all of these concepts. It can all be in our head. But if we don't somehow take it into our heart, if we don't somehow take it into a practical way of practicing it on a moment by moment, day by day basis, like it's just information.
Yeah, it's just some sentence that sounded cool for a minute. Wow, I commit to taking full responsibility.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So identifying the situation and allowing for yourself. Like one of my friends years ago told me that they would set a timer. And when they noticed that they were in this orientation, they would set a timer for 5 minutes. And they're like, all right, 5 minutes, go.
That's funny.
And you get 5 minutes to just be like, and play
to like write it down or
write
whatever.
It down.
Yeah.
Woe is me, wham, play the victim. Just play it out.
It's this person's fault because.
The important component of why we're talking about the practicing is because the power comes in when you're able to observe it.
I think that does give you a good observation point to really just let yourself go with it.
Yeah, see the story.
Rant,
right.
And then look at how that's really not.
One of the things that we teach in our integrated mindset program is the beginning components of understanding witness consciousness. And witness consciousness is this ability to sit behind and observe without attachment. And it's not necessarily that we're not at all even involved in it. We're just going, wow, there it is. There's a story. I'm playing the victim, and then all these things may or may not happen. And I'm able to write it down and just allow for this, what they call this unenlightened blame game, dramatic, just like ham it up, just write it all out. Right. And then when you're able to do that, you're able to then observe how potentially ridiculous it is, because usually the narrative that's happening in there is way more severe than the actual reality of what's going on out in the world, right?
Yeah, and not fear-based, so you're taking it to the next level.
And not to mention our perception narrows to where we actually collapse time, and then our brain says like, "Oh, this is how it is now, and therefore this is how it's always going to be, that people don't love me, he rejected me, she rejected me financially, and then so that's how it's always going to be," right? Time collapses, perception narrows, and I'm not able to see. I'm not able to open myself up and actually get myself back online to a place where my prefrontal cortex is online.
Yeah.
And I'm able to ask myself a powerful question. I'm able to recognize and shift my internal state. Because when I begin to recognize a pattern, I'm no longer that pattern. I'm no longer that program. I'm able to observe it and objectify it. And now I'm able to remove that and go like, oh, look at that. There it is. I was beneath the line. I wasn't taking full responsibility for my life. All that is an inspection point to then be able to shift our attention, our awareness towards how is this situation for me, and gain some insight and recognizing how this pattern has played out, what I make it mean, all those how I affirm it.
Yeah, all the ways you're committed to keeping that story going by what you're doing.
And then you're able, so as you objectify it, as you become aware of it, you are no longer that pattern. Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about that. If you're the one observing the program, you are no longer the program. You are no longer that victim. So then now that gives you the power by observation alone to actually shift your state. And because that's where the healing work is, you guys, is in the actual sensations inside your bodies. That's where the pattern lives. If you can get yourself to have a visceral shift inside your body from being constricted to being expansive, from being dense and dark and limited to feeling kind of spacious and open, like that is what's going to do the healing work. We don't have to always get so caught up in the story, the narrative. But sometimes it does help to write it down, to objectify it just enough to create that shift.
Yeah. Even right now, if you're sitting like I do, but like I'm really trying to work on my posture. And so I'm doing posture checks all the time with myself. I'm trying to build awareness around that. So if you're watching right now and you're kind of noticing maybe your posture's not where you want it to be, like just open up, physically open yourself up. Nothing outside of you has to change for you to do that. You just did that, and that's like a very tangible look at like,
and it's all interconnected,
right?
It's all interconnected to, like our physical well-being, how we feel physically, our posture, our breath, our eye gaze, all of these things are interconnected into my inner experience and my visceral experience and the patterns that are living within my body and then playing out unconsciously, and being as victim. And so, being able to just observe it though, you guys, like to not judge it, show it compassion. That gives you the power to be able to shift it.
Yeah. Beautiful.
So, I mean, again, the only piece that I want to come back around to one more time and make sure that, because this can be a very kind of like a bit of an extreme, right? Radical responsibility to extreme ownership, Navy SEAL, Jocko Willink, right? We have to, which I fully adopt and believe, but I also have noticed myself numerous times diving into somebody else's stuff, right? Employees, children, wife, the world. I'm going to take it all on, right? And now I'm playing the rescuer. And I'm making life harder than it needs to be. And the reason why we're so passionate about sharing this concept and these tools, and why we've integrated a lot of this type of work of learning how to shift ourselves from being below the line to above the line, is because the thing that I have come to realize is when we are truly operating from above the line, when we're truly operating from a place of abundance, when we're truly operating from a place of good enough, worthy, adequate, and lovable, life begins to flow. Like things legitimately just come and happen and seem easy. And there's a level of power that is experienced with that orientation. And so when you are able to recognize that you're kind of trying to force things, that you potentially are even either not taking responsibility or taking too much responsibility, you're creating extra resistance, you're creating extra suffering, you're creating extra obstacle or struggle. And when you're able to surrender and let that go and just come back into a place of power, like legitimately like sitting behind, relaxing, releasing, and coming to a place of power, how things seem to just happen and work out for the best, for the highest good of everybody.
Yeah. Well, when you're taking, I feel like for myself, when I know that I'm really taking responsibility in my life, I can see how even when things work out differently than I had planned, that they're still working out for me. And I think a lot of that blaming and fear and all of that goes on is because we're just so committed to thinking that things should be or shouldn't be a certain way. When we can let go of that a little bit and, like you said, relax into that, that's where the magic is. I don't know.
This is like another like 10,000
Yeah.
foot view thing. I'm just going to finish our conversation because we're coming up on 30
And
minutes.
I think it just basically just said the same thing that you just said,
which is great, but
in a different way.
Well, what's the name of the show that the nature show we're watching?
Oh,
something universe. Our universe.
Yeah.
Our universe, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, they're talking about, the universe as a whole and like how massive this place is that we live in the sense of the world and the universe and the cosmos.
Yeah.
And like the odds and the chances of us even being here, right, are so incredibly tiny and minute that like it just is hilarious. We watch that show and by the end of the show we're kind of like, and so why do we make everything mean something about us? Like, why do we take things so incredibly personal?
Yeah.
Like, it's clear that we're not in control of how things are because they are just as they're so exactly as they're supposed to be because of 13.8 billion years or
as Michael
whatever.
Singer would say, you're a tiny speck floating around in the middle of black space and you think you're someone. Isn't that hilarious?
Yeah, Michael, if you ever
you're
really
floating around in the middle of nowheres.
In the middle of nowheres. And he laughs.
Yeah.
We love ourselves some good Michael Singer. He has a wonderful podcast too. But anyway, I do want to do a quick plug to join our community. Mm-hmm. We have a free course in there, 5 steps to recreating yourself. A wonderful time of year to take a look at that. One of the things that we do, ironically, talk about in that 5-step is the first step in there is taking full responsibility. Radical responsibility, but that is a free course in the IHP community. Would love for you to hop in there, check it out. There's other free resources with breath stuff and everything else, so just encourage you to check it out. Hop in and ask questions, engage in these conversations. Would love to hear if you're reading the book, you're going through this with us. Any sort of insight, feedback, or resistance. We always love resistance.
Yeah.
Because resistance is where growth lives. So
yeah, I'd love to hear too. Like if you are a person who tends to take more than your fair share of responsibility, I think a lot of people can relate to that too. So leave us a comment. I will put the link for the free community in the comments, and then this will also be reposted on the podcast. So hope you have a great day.
Excellent. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for listening. Remember, leaders go first, alignment matters, and the environment that you create is the legacy you'll leave. We'll see you on the next episode.